This is going to be tough. If it wasn't clear enough with the introduction, that big old picture right over there, the pillowcase, the neck pillow, and then the blanket I also purposely put on my chair on top of this jersey and many other articles of clothing and even a license plate cover. I am a diehard Packers fan. For those of you who do not know or personally know me, I have been a Packers fan really ever since 2009. When I was 7 years old, my father introduced me into the NFL world, and the Packers were the team that caught my eye. And the Packers were also his favorite team as well. So I kind of just followed my father's footsteps and been liking the Packers ever since. I still remember the run that the Packers made in the Super Bowl. Now, to be fair, I'm not going to say that I remember every little bit because I was 7 and 8 years old, but I do remember hanging out with my brother, my little brother, my father, and his coworker who was a diehard football fan, watching the Super Bowl in his house and watching them win it all as the sixth seed and beating Ben Roethlisberger and that Troy Polamalu defensive-led Steelers. That team was amazing. That game was amazing. The Packers started off very well, and that kind of that kind of boosted up my fandom in a way, to where I mean, at that young age, I mean, when you see your favorite team win the Super Bowl very early on in your like fan career, it it makes a huge impact, and that's what boosted my fandom. But that's not my biggest reason as to why I became a huge Packers super fan in a way. It was because of Aaron Rodgers. I have been blessed to watch Rodgers for my entire fandom of the Packers. I mean, he is the one that made me made me a super fan of the Packers. His legendary playmaking, his legendary accuracy, his all-time skill and talent has something that the NFL has never seen before. He was really the first quarterback to throw on the run. I mean, you could say Michael Vick, but to do it at this level, Aaron Rodgers was the first one. I mean, there's no doubting that. There's no doubting that. Aaron Rodgers was also easily the second best quarterback of this era. Now, unfortunately, Tom Brady takes that role because he is the GOAT. But it's a clear cut number two for Rodgers. Being able to being able to watch him play, being able to watch this team go through the highs and lows, and still him being able to compete at the highest level, throw so many Hail Marys, or I'm sorry, Hail Rodgers. um, See him create so many highlights, host so many amazing plays, whether that's on the run or in the pocket these last few years. It has been a great time. I've watched him kind of evolve as a person over the last few years, and I don't really think he's this guy that everybody thinks he is. I don't think he's this asshole dramatic kind of dude. Now, the drama I may see a little bit, but I think that's boosted up with the media. And I think the Rogers is kind of Aaron Rodgers is kind of the media's like play toy, if you will. Um, but I really don't think he's this guy. And you know what? Maybe I'm a little bit blinded by the fact that, or maybe I'm biased or blinded because I am a super fan of the Packers. But I've I've loved this guy for the longest time. I really have. Even though he doesn't know me, maybe he probably won't ever see this. But I seriously thank him. I don't mean to make you feel old, Rogers, but you were my entire childhood. If you are watching this, you are my entire childhood. You you put on a show, and you made me had a lot of fun watching football. I mean, I tried to draft you in fantasy pretty much the majority of the years. A lot of I would people would draft Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. I tried to draft you, even though sometimes Even though sometimes you sat on my bench, I would try and draft you, and I really just enjoyed your play. I know I keep repeating that, but the plays that he did left me speechless. Like, for example, his Hail Rodgers. I mean, I talked about that. There was a time to where Aaron Rodgers or the Hail Mary was kind of renamed Hail Rodgers because this guy was able to throw such accurate deep passes for the win or for the tie that it was amazing. And people and the opponent teams were getting scared that Rodgers would bring out a miracle because he did. He brought out miracles pretty much every single season. The most memorable being the Hail Mary uh, on his birthday in Detroit for the win to Richard Rodgers. And then the two Hail Marys from the end zone, his own end zone, to the 50-yard line to Jeff Janis, and then another one from the 50-yard line to the end zone for a touchdown to tie the game to go into overtime, again to Jeff Janis. Or that Hail Mary to Randall Cobb in at halftime against the New York Giants in the wild card game. Now, even with their highs, unfortunately, there was a lot of lows and disappointments. For example, the 2014 NFC Championship game against the Seattle Seahawks. That one was rough to watch. That one was rough to watch. I mean, choking a 16-point lead, I don't want to remember that, but I do. And even through that, you still put on a show against one of the best defenses ever in the Legion of Boom in Seattle. You beat Tom Brady a few times. That's more than most quarterbacks can say, especially against the Patriots, who were also top 10 defenses in 19 of their 21 seasons with Tom Brady. You've defeated some of the best. You dominated some of the best. You own the best TD to interception ratio ever, and it's not even close. You hold a lot of Packers records when it comes to the quarterback position. He said he's debatably the greatest Packers player ever. I think he is. Because when we all think of whenever if you're a fan or not, when you think of the Packers, you think of Bart Starr. You think of Brett Favre. You think of Reggie White. You maybe think of Charles Woodson. Even though he was kind of more of a Raider in that regard, you maybe think of Charles Woodson. You think of Jordy Nelson. You think of Craig Jennings, Donald Driver. Even David Bakhtiari. Even though he's not done yet, he's one of the best offensive linemen the Packers have ever had. You think of Clay Matthews. You think of Sterling Sharp. But the one guy that will go down as the greatest ever in Packers history will be Aaron Rodgers. He owns too many records. He's broken too many records. He's started for more games and played more seasons in Green Bay than anybody else has. This man's is the definition of a Packer. He is what makes the Packers so great and such an amazing franchise and team to play for. It's not debatable. It's really not. And that's not discredit to Brett Favre or Bart Starr or any of those guys that I just named or that I didn't name. Aaron Rodgers has just done too much for Green Bay to not be considered the greatest of all time. Even though he may only have one ring to call for it compared to Bart Starr's, I think. Well, there's two Super Bowls and then I think like 3, 4, 5 world championships. Aaron Rodgers' stats are just too much. They're too much. He will go down as the greatest Packer ever. And I know this is kind of a little bit of a long video and probably not one y'all were expecting, but I just wanted to say thank you. I honestly can't remember if I said it before, but this sucks to see you in another jersey, especially a New York Jet jersey, because This is giving deja vu to the people a generation above me with Brett Favre. Just kind of funny, but I have no remorse. I knew I had a feeling that this was gonna happen. I mean, let's be honest here. This was the best thing for both sides, with potential drama in their own front office, and Aaron Rodgers on a massive contract, and he's old and he's here to win now, and the Packers seem to be looking for a rebuild. It was the best business decision for both sides. And even though I think we all knew that, even some of us Packer fans knew that was going to happen, and maybe some of us wanted him. We wanted to move on from him. But I have a feeling here, maybe in a little bit, that we will miss him. And that's not a discredit to Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love is going to do great. I think Jordan Love showed a lot of potential, especially against the Eagles in that one game when Rodgers went out for the fourth quarter. That man's threw for almost 200 yards in just one quarter against the best passing defense in the league last year. He threw for more yards than the Chicago Bears and Justin Fields did in any game last year in one quarter. Jordan Love looks amazing. Jordan Love looks like he can sling the ball. He can throw that fucking thing hard. He also looked pretty accurate. This went from looking like a complete bust to a potential top QB. I think he can be. And this is no discredit to him. I just think on the emotional aspect that we will miss him more than we think. I seriously do. Whether you realize it or not, you may miss some of the plays he used to make. I bet we will. And Jordan Love, you probably won't ever see this, but I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have a lot of faith in you when you were drafted the first 2 years. But these last 2 years, or this is your fourth year, is it? Kind of forgot. Anyway, you know what? The first 2 years, I didn't have a lot of faith in you. And especially against the Kansas City game in your first and only start so far, it was not looking too great. But, this last year, when I heard reports of defensive players saying that he's ready to go, and these are some elite players, we're talking like Jair Alexander, Devondre Campbell, Kenny Clark, Rasul Douglas. When these guys are saying that this guy is ready to go, that's something to take notice. Aaron Jones, David Bakhtiari said this. I took notice. And it showed even more in that Eagles game. And I apologize for pretty much not having much faith in you. And I apologize for that. But I hope that you know what, that you have proved me wrong and that you go out there and kill it. I mean, I believe in you now. It's not like you need my belief to have confidence, but I hope you go and kill it, man. I really do. I really do. Thank y'all for watching. This was my little just kind of one-on-one conversation, between us. I know I normally don't do this and I haven't posted in a minute. I've been very busy, but this is an unedited video, so I hope y'all enjoy this. Let me know if you what content you want to see later in the future. I will see y'all later. Peace.